Hey everybody, it's Steve with Sky194, and I just want to say thank you for stopping by to check out my video. And we are here at Paul Ricard with the AMG GT3 car, and I request for a setup for the car. And I've actually kind of been dabbling with it for a while, just kind of messing around with it and seeing if I could get a setup for using it for a multiplayer race or something like that. But it wasn't finished, so I went ahead and finished it. And I'm kind of glad I waited just because of the fact that we had the update, the 1.5.7, and they did a slight BOP change, and one of them was to the AMG. And I don't think there's a big difference, but especially these more like horsepower tracks, I call them, Paul Ricard, Monza, um, tracks like that have some really long straightaways. It feels like the car is now kind of like the Porsche. It just doesn't really have the top speed that it did. Maybe by 1 or 2 miles an hour. It just seemed like before I could get more speed down that long back straightaway. Now I'm about where the Porsche was, where my setup on the Porsche is. So, it just doesn't. And then on the short front straightaway, I usually could get into sixth gear, and I barely can. If I go into six, it's actually barely just getting into six. So it just seems a little like they've either just detuned it a little bit or restricted it a teeny bit, whatever. And of course, every track's different, but I know they said they did some adjustments on it. So again, take it for what it's worth. It's just my opinion, but it just feels a teeny bit different as far as straight line speed. Other than that, it's fine. It feels the same. Actually, it almost feels maybe a little better even going through all the curves just because the throttle response and the power doesn't seem like it wants to kill you all the time. So it doesn't feel as bad. So just maybe down one little notch. So, but anyway, let's get started. Do a few laps here. Of course, I started off with 64, 65 liters. First, I brake up here right around the 100. I'll do a kind of a late apex, turn in here, and stay left. And then, so you can get a good drive down through here. You don't want to turn in early or you're totally screwed going down this little short chute here. Right before the 50, on the brakes down to second. And then over to first. Try to touch the curb a little bit there. These curbs are atrocious here at Paul Ricard. Even though the AMG feel, is taking it pretty good, so I mean not real harsh. Of course, a long straightaway. Now I did try a low drag setup, and actually has gone faster with the more downforce. So, it seems like a car a lot easier to drive. So I think that's the better. And you only gain like 1 mile an hour. So it's just not worth it. Even though this really isn't a high downforce, but it's just not a low downforce package. So downshift to second, so I get a good drive through here. The third cone is my brake marker back there. Go straight and then late apexes, so you don't get on these curbs. This one's okay, but not that inside one. The inside is real bad. And right there, that little bend, I hit the brakes, go down to second. It's real critical here that you stay wide and then cut in and try to miss all these curbs. That was a 155.66. I like to get a different view. I like to see how flat it is going through here, and it's I think it's staying pretty flat. And then we'll check out. That was a 155.55. Again, try to cut it close through here. Go to the left a little bit so you can get a good drive down this short straightaway here. Just give you another idea where my brake markers are. Try to just barely hit those curves. They're kind of rough. Here just past the 100. It seems like it likes it better if you just turn in just a little earlier, like just past the 100 here, so you're right there, and then turn in. And then the light pole there to the right is where I brake marker for this. Of course, I go down to third and then second. This is where you make up a lot of time, is these curves, all from that big right-hander all the way through. And let's see what the time was, 155.77. So you got, all within a couple tenths. So really happy with that, with the AMG, especially since it definitely was no monster down the straightaways. And of course, just like normal, I mean, I try to keep the temperature, between 24, 25, in that range, 26. And the wind is light, and it's been changing little bit. It's still light wind, but it's been changing direction the whole time I've been doing this setup. So it changes a little bit, but it's still been under 10, under 10. So let's go over to setup. So I can talk a little bit about it. Tire pressure, 25.6 left front, 26.4 left rear, 26.8 right front, and 27 right rear. The toe is a negative 0.02. And the camber is a negative 3.3 on the left front and a negative 3.1 on the right front. The caster is 12.5, and on the rear the toe is 0.05, and the camber is negative 2.5 on the left rear and negative 2.4 on the right rear. The electronics are 5 and 5, and it needs it with the ABS because, and also just, it seems like the AMG, it doesn't lose performance, but it also just helps keep the car in check with a little bit higher traction control. It doesn't want to kill you. And of course the ABS, with that double right-hander right there, it wants to lock up the right front. So I always add just a little bit of ABS to it to help so you don't damage the right front tire. Fuel, I had 65 liters with the number 1 brake pad. And here you can see the tires. That's the set I used, and there's no graining or anything anywhere. The set before that I ran even longer, and it had light graining That's the set I ran for a while. I had light just on the right front, but I did a adjustment after that, an alignment adjustment, and it seems to help just a teeny bit. So, but that's the only thing it had is this one, and of course that's that right front, like I said, and it could have been from uh, locking up a little bit in that double right-hander. So that's that. The mechanical, I had any roll bar is 8 on the front. Brake bias is 59. Now, again, if the back end is too nervous for you, and or it's rotating a little too quick, just put this back brake up to 60. Just put it up one percentage point, and that will help calm the rear end down. But I was using it for maximum performance. Of course, steering ratio is turned all the way down. The springs in the front are 155,000 with a 1,200 bump stop rate on the left front and an 1,100 bump stop rate on the right front and a number 1 bump stop range. And on the rear, the wheel rate or springs are 107,000 with a bump stop rate of 900 on the left rear and 800 on the right rear. The bump stop range is 2 on the left rear and 8 on the right rear. The anti-roll bar is 4 and the preload on the diff is 100. And the shocks on the front are 7, 5, 8, and 7. And on the rear, it's 6, 4, 8, and 7. And I did do some work on those. The arrow on the front ride height is 49. The ride height on the rear is 75 with a 6 splitter on the front and a 5 rear wing and a 3 and a 2 and a brake ducts just because of the temps. I usually run 4 and 3. So, I mean, I'll put that 4 and 3 for hotter temperatures. And again, tire pressures and these brake ducts, of course, are always subject to change as far as your the weather, track conditions, and all that. So that might have to be adjusted accordingly. And a 5 rear wing, I think, is a good balance. It's not anything that's really dragging the car. But, I I had a setup that I ran lower than that with more of a low drag. And like I said, it was a couple tenths slower, and it felt a little more edgy, especially through those fast right-handers and all that. Where this one, hopefully it'll be more, how should I say, consistent and easier to be that way, not like you're on the ragged edge. That's what I was trying to get anyway. I didn't want the thing to be on the ragged edge for somebody, especially on a long stint. And it's still only, like I said, it only costs like a mile an hour. So even if you ran a super low drag and knocked the wing almost way down, you might gain 2 miles an hour down that straightaway. I mean, the thing is, you're going to give up everywhere else. So I just don't think it's worth it. Not for a race anyway. Qualifying, yeah, you could probably try a qualifying setup, but for a race, I would prefer to keep it where it's consistent. And I was staying anywhere from the mid 155s to the low 56s, like 56Os. So that's where it was staying at for half a tank or a half, from 65 liters down to like 30 liters. So I was really happy with that for me. And so I sure hope that it works for you. And I will put this in a link in the description. And please, I really would appreciate a thumbs up and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of any new videos. It really helps the channel, especially with all the YouTube stuff going on. And also, it lets me know that y'all like the setups, so I can do more, because that's how I kind of rate it. If they don't get a lot of views or not really much interest, then there's no sense in me spending a lot of time doing it. So I sure appreciate it, and I sure hope that you all come back and visit again. And again, I love all the comments and feedback. Just sim racing is awesome. So I sure appreciate it, and I sure hope y'all enjoy the setup, and I hope y'all just keep getting faster. Y'all take care. See ya.